Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wealth Down with me, your host, Norbert BM, bringing you the top economic news for today, latest events, and of course, earnings. We had earnings yesterday, we have earnings today, and let's talk about them right after we go through the major economic new events for today. We have from the US the GDP growth rate, which is coming out at 13.30. Then we have from Germany inflation rate report, and tomorrow we are going to have from China the NBS manufacturing PMI, from Japan the BOJ interest rate decision. They're expected to hold. If they don't, then all hell breaks loose. And of course, we have from the US, we have core ECI from personal income and personal spending. So let's move on for the market yesterday. It was a pretty mixed day right until the end, because at the end, after a couple of companies reported earnings, all hell broke loose. So let's go over the index. The S&P, although it closed out positive in the day with 0.16% in the plus, we had in the aftermarkets, the S&P almost hitting that negative. Now it's trying to bounce back, especially because Eli Lilly just reported earnings. We're going to come to Eli Lilly just in a couple of seconds, and it was a massive move. So futures are pointing to open positive, although most of the market sold off until now. Now the Nasdaq also closed up pretty good yesterday with almost 1%, closing up at 0.98% in the plus, up there in the $20,000 mark. Now the Dow Jones closed up negative, 42,000, being down 0.36%, and the Nasdaq futures are pointing up today. So also let's take a look at Bitcoin, which is kind of hanging in there, 72,000 at the moment. Oil is having a bit of a better day after selling off the last 5 days. Actually, the entire month we had a huge sell-off from oil. It's going to 67,000 WTI crude. And of course, gold is, as always, up, going slightly up. And we're expected to see a big pullback in gold in the upcoming months. So let's just see what happens. Okay, let's get to earnings. This is why you're here for. So the first company that reporting earnings was PayPal, which came in with, well, it beat on earnings per share, but it pretty much missed on revenue, but 0.54%, sending the price initially up and then sold off just a little bit, but the entire market pulled up in the after hours. So this is what you see here is actually after hours. Then we have SoFi reporting earnings. They beat on revenue, beat on estimate, pretty much a good beat, 25% on EPS. That's just amazing. But the price did, well, almost nothing. It first of all fell before the earnings, and then it came back just a little bit. So it got back half of that loss. Now, next up was McDonald's reporting earnings. They did report good earnings, did guide a bit lower, and also mentioned that little E. coli problem that they had. Pretty much seems to be under control, so the stock is trying to bounce back here. After they sold off, where was the sell-off? Here was the sell-off. It bounced back, and it's pretty much still selling off there. Okay, next up, Pfizer. Pfizer had a bit of a problem with their investment there. Now, on the earnings side, they pretty much beat with the EPS 70% surprise. That was just amazingly better than expected. Also, revenue grew 18.41%, but the price did, well, it recovered a bit from their loss, from their monthly loss. And let's just say they're hanging in there. BP also reported earnings yesterday. They missed on revenue, beat on EPS. Then let's take a look at MSCI. They pretty much beat over the board. MSCI is hanging in there. Then it sold off a bit, but it was pretty much expected due to the fact that everything is overbought right now. Next up, Caribbean. Now, I gotta say, I had this company for hold it for over a year, sold it, and then let's just look at it. So I sold it for over a year. Take a look at this price, 147% I missed, but that's just life. Okay, so Stanley Black & Decker reported earnings yesterday, came in a bit worse than expected, with revenue declining 1.29%, EPS up 16.19%. They did report that they had a bit of problems with their ball machines. I believe sales were not that good as expected. So after hours, we have now the big ones. First, AMD reported earnings, came in with revenue 1.62% in the positive, not that big of a deal, but at EPS they just came in flat. And then the price sold off. They sold off almost 7%. They actually down 7.38%. Pretty massive sell-off for AMD. Now Google came in really good. They came in with 2.24% revenue and 14% beat on the EPS. An amazing beat, also guided pretty much higher. The stock soared in the after hours. Visa came in also better than expected. Stock price rose, then fell down a bit, and then came back pretty much, well, just above its average. It's let's just see here, it's 50. Yeah, it's hanging in there, the 50-day moving average. Chipotle also reported earnings, sold off massively in the after hours. Price here came back roughly half of it, but they actually had a pretty good earnings report. Okay, revenue was down 0.92%, but they expected 2.82 billion and came with 2.79 billion. So 3 billion miss, give or take, on APS. ATS, they pretty much beat over everything. They beat with 8%. Snap also came in yesterday with better than expected. Yes, was up 60%. The price was impressed and had a jump, had a sell-off in the initial state, but then jumped back up there. Striker reported earnings yesterday, giving in better than expected. Price jumped and stayed up there. And that's pretty much it for the main companies. Now let's take a look at earnings for today. So as I said, Eli Lilly just reported earnings, and the price does not show here, but they missed. So earnings came in worse than expected. They missed on revenue, missed on earnings per share, down 5%. Let me just take a look at the future markets. Eli Lilly is massively down. They were down like 11%. But Eli Lilly is also up there, pretty much overbought. Take a look here in the future markets. Yeah, so it was initially down 11%. Now it's trying to get back up there. Let's just see what Eli Lilly does. We still have a couple of hours till the opening bell. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Caterpillar also just reported earnings. They missed on revenue, missed on APS and stock price. Let me just check. The price is down 3.70 or 4%. It was down 4%. It's trying to get back up there. AbbVie reported earnings. They beat on revenue, beat on sales, and the stock plummets to 1%. No, just 0.5%. Sorry about that. 0.5%, which is not bad. I think it just stopped. The ADP UBS reported earnings came in. Whoa, 15.27%. Beat on revenue, EPS 52%. Let me check the stock price. UBS is up. It's up massively. Okay, we have GE Healthcare reported earnings came in. They missed on revenue and they beat on EPS. Wingstop reported. Now it's soon to report earnings, so we're going to leave it at this. And then we're going to have Microsoft in the after hours reporting earnings. Meta reporting earnings. Robinhood reporting earnings. Starbucks report. Although Starbucks already, I think they already came out with, the CEO of Starbucks, former CEO of Chipotle, came out with that video. Definitely watch it on YouTube. Pretty interesting video. They pretty much promise to take out what is unnecessary, be more efficient. That's what they all promise. Okay, Coinbase up to report earnings after the bell. MicroStrategy is up to report earnings after the bell. That's going to be interesting. Then Roku, Carvana. I sold Carvana for over a year. Let's take a look at the price for 1 year. Well, it's only up 673%. So good job, Norbert. You're a good trader. Okay, eBay. Let's move on. eBay is going to report earnings today. Etsy is going to report earnings today. And MetLife due to report earnings today. So there are a lot of stocks. Tomorrow and the day after tomorrow will be massive. No, wait. So today and tomorrow will be massive. And then on Friday, we have the big oil producers, so far and so on. We're going to cover that in the upcoming days. Okay, guys. So what stocks are you watching for? Let me hear from you in the comments. Did you miss on something like I did? Tell me. Come on. Okay. This being said, my name is NorbBM. Give me a like on the video. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell in order to get notified, because we post from Mondays to Fridays. And then on the weekends, we do our portfolio review with what we bought, what we sold, why we did it. Definitely don't miss that. We also do a risk assessment for the upcoming week, each and every week. Did a risk assessment for the week, for this week, and I was pretty much right until this point. But let's see how the week ends. With this being said, stay safe out there. Until next time. Bye-bye.